Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods, and now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning. Welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, we have in our 10th year, I can't remember how many shows we've done around Mother's Day, but I'm going to say about 6.
Yeah, probably about 6.
Yeah, we've had shows in the past where we featured some friends, mostly moms. This is the first time we're going to do a show with a couple of moms and their kids. They're not kids. I spoke to them before the show, and they're very impressive. I keep looking back to when I was their age and how far behind I was. And this all started when I met my first guest to my left, Calli McIntyre, when we got to speak on the show a couple of years ago, when she was Miss Moore County's Outstanding Teen. And all I could think about was how far behind I was when I was her age, and I've never gotten over it. Calli's been a frequent guest on the show, and her mom, Noelle, is sitting to her left. And in all the shows, Calli, that we've done, your mom has been here, behind the scenes, sitting in the other room, or sitting behind the camera, listening, doing her work, texting, but being there to support you. And I think she knew full well that you could fully handle it on your own when you came in and did your own radio show. I want to say good morning to you.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. How have you been?
Good. And Noelle, we want to thank you for coming from behind the curtain to come out. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
I've had a chance to get to know you and get to know Calli, and see your relationship, and it's special. We're going to talk a little bit about it today, and this marks the last time she'll be here as a senior. I know. She's going to college.
Please don't make her cry. I can't deal with any more tears. We were just sitting in Pittsburgh the other day, and she started crying out of the blue, and we were eating lunch. I was like, what is wrong with you? She'll just start randomly crying, so let's not do that here. We're
not going to do that. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk a lot about some of the things you guys have been doing this year, what Mother's Day means, the relationship. And
you tearing up right now?
Stop.
She's literally tearing
Noelle.
up right now. Stop it. Gosh, this is
right.
really annoying, actually. She does it all the time.
We're going to, it's perfectly good. We have plenty of time to talk. Jules Latham is sitting to your left. Jules, good morning.
Good morning.
You are, and I'm glad you and I got a chance to talk a little bit before the show. We have met somewhere down the road, somewhere along the lines. You're a local attorney?
Well, yes and no. I'm an attorney, but I'm not barred in North Carolina, so I don't practice in North Carolina.
Okay. You have 2 sons that you brought with you who happen to be also very good friends with Calli. Max is 13 and Nick is 10.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning, guys. Good morning. And we're going to talk to you all today, too, about your relationship, your mom, your relationship with Calli. And one of the things that we've had conversations about on the show in the past has been the relationship of students to the arts, and how it's not different from athletics. It certainly doesn't get the same press. It doesn't get the same accolades.
Yeah.
But it requires as much courage and determination, if not more. Definitely. Why do you say that, Nick?
A lot of people in my class, in my school, don't consider dance to be an actual sport, even though it requires the same amount of physical activity and determination as, say, football. And I feel like the arts definitely need to be more recognized, especially in Moore County and Pinehurst.
Yes.
So yeah, that's definitely important to me and everyone here.
Very well said. And you have the presence of mind to include everyone in the conversation you just had. I am so impressed. I just learned that skill 3 years ago. That is so great. Max, you go to O'Neill.
Yes.
And tell me, you are involved in some of the arts programs?
Yes, I am. I took theater in my first semester in music. I'm taking that now. And I performed with O'Neill last year when I was in 7th grade in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And I performed again this year in Oliver, both at O'Neill. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me your inspiration for getting involved in the arts.
Well, when I was really young, my parents were careful to include both like spirit. Well, I say spirit in like the traditional sense of soccer,
right,
baseball, things like that.
Sure.
Include both spirit opportunities and art opportunities like theater and dance. And I remember going to theater rehearsals for just really small local like little kid shows, and like when I was 3 or 4, and also doing dance then. And so whereas spirits, like traditional spirits, didn't really stick with me, dance did, and then I've just continued doing that and continued doing theater because I enjoy it.
All right. So, guys, I'm going to ask you both a question. I have a lady sitting to my left, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know her very well, don't we?
Definitely.
And definitely, let's talk about what kind of influence or inspiration she has had for both of you guys.
Okay. Yeah. So I've known Calli since before I can remember, and she's definitely been an inspiration in my life. And right now, she's my vocal teacher. So yeah.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I remember when I was little and I saw Calli perform.
When you were little?
Yeah, when I was like 5,
Oh.
3. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I remember hearing her sing, and I remember thinking, I want to do that. And when I went home from the performance, I remember asking my mom, hey Mom, can I dance? And so ever since I was 3, I've been, well, now you do. I've been dancing since I was 3 years old, and I think I started acting at 5.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
Sometime
You've
around
always
that.
been acting here.
Blurred.
So, yeah, Calli's definitely played a large part in my life.
Okay. Do you guys know the
Who's the one
phrase?
tearing up now, Calli?
This is an example of paying it forward. When I first met Calli, okay, so she had a list. Okay, she didn't really have a list, but singer, writer, fundraiser, dancer, right? What am I missing? Actress, author, and singing coach. She's so
you forgot lifeguarding.
Oh, lifeguarding. So, but she spoke about the people that influenced her from the time that she was maybe 3 years old, that she had role models and mentors. And so now she's in a position where she's serving the same purpose for you guys. Max?
Yeah, so I started dancing, as I said, and I first danced at CPAC, was it? Terpsichore, which one?
CPAC.
At CPAC, and then moved over to Taylor Dance, where I met Calli at 5, I think.
Really young.
And like we've known each other for a while since my mom and Miss McIntyre are good friends, and Calli has babysat.
What's like the proper grammatical term?
I don't know.
For that?
Has like babysat for Nick and I before, and we've performed in these same shows for a while now, and then like we like grew to like just know each other from being around like in the same places, and Calli babysitting, and we've just
had a few
known
fun
each other for a
times
while.
babysitting.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
she's going to be leaving for college. What's your prediction for what's going to happen for her in the next couple of years?
She's gonna be an amazingly successful Broadway actress.
Right?
Yeah,
And
I think Broadway's probably in her future.
I'm gonna convince my mom to let me go see her on Broadway. It'll be
It
great.
won't take much convincing.
I think it's
No.
sweet because, you think of mother in the terms of birthing a child.
Right.
But when you hear them, it's,
Right.
you can be a mom to someone. Like she's been a mom to them.
Right.
And then they pass it forward, just like with your, Max, your huge charitable project that you did for your bar mitzvah with the book is just, or the books, plural. It was so impressive. I mean, he raised
What did he do?
$7,000.
I heard that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I I'm Jewish, and a Jewish person, when they turn 13, does among other things, does a charity project. And when I was thinking of what am I going to do for my project, called a mitzvah project. Mitzvah is the Jewish word for charity or a good deed. And so I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I've always liked reading, and I was noticing that people had been making hurtful comments about people who were different, who I go to O'Neill, and there's not as much diversity there as in other places, and I had been noticing that people at O'Neill had been making these comments that would have been hurtful to people had they been there and heard. And so I decided to do my project on getting books into kindergarten, first grade, and second grade classrooms to help promote diversity and the acceptance of such, so that people don't say that anymore, I guess.
Jules,
Yes.
you've had a chance to listen to both your boys speak in a format that they've not been familiar with. And your body language, you were leaning back. Maybe were you thinking to yourself, "Gosh, I hope they don't make a mistake because they just knocked it out of the park."
No.
Thank you.
You're
Well,
welcome.
that's kind. I don't worry about my guys' ability to express themselves. They express themselves all the time.
We're
Really?
very good at
Want
it.
them to or not.
So
We're
what?
very good at that.
That was an interesting compliment.
It was.
I would love to be a fly on the wall
Yes.
at some of your dinner table conversations.
Oh, they're fun.
Oh my gosh.
Callie knows this.
What is it called? The Jewish coins?
Gelt.
Gout. That's what I
Chocolate
eat at their house.
Yeah, Callie pretty much lives off of it.
It's so good.
What are they?
It's called
Gelt.
Gelt.
You know, when
chocolate coins.
at Hanukkah, when you dreidel for the chocolate coins, gelt. And there's always a surplus of gelt at our house.
Oh,
It didn't
okay.
So I
get
just eat 'em.
eaten for Hanukkah, so
So I eat them at their house.
Gotcha. I love the fact that you just let them be. My mom, when I grew up, she would sit back and go, "Oh God, please don't have him make a mistake." She wanted all her sons to be Gregory Peck. None of us were. And my father would say, "Just leave them alone, let them play, they're fine." But she would be like, hovering. And I see a complete different type of situation. I see it with Noelle too. When Callie is doing what she does, it's like, really, is this my daughter? Is this coming out of? I think at the time I met you, you were 16, 18.
18 next week.
Next week, okay, 2 years worth. You empower her by just having the quiet confidence, and so do you. Honestly, and
thank you.
I think the boys get that. They're not looking over their shoulder going, "Did I do something wrong? Like, am I being corrected?" I mean, I think it's pretty impressive.
I think
Thank
with
you.
kids, you have to give them
Yeah.
that ability. Like so many times being an arts mom, I've read and heard things where, a child decides I'm going to be an arts major and their parents are like, no, that's not, you're not going to make any money. It's not going to be lucrative. We need to redirect you. And I just think that parents need to let their kids find their path.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. The way I hear that is that parents who allow their kids to live into their spirit, whatever that spirit is, those kids get to move along a lot quicker in life with a lot less bumps in the road. We're going to come back in the second set. We're talking about Mother's Day, and we kind of are doing it indirectly, right? Even though you boys... Huh?
I mean, we're technically talking about it since we're talking about our mothers.
Technically, right. We're gonna get less technical in the second set. We're gonna come back. This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to our second set. We're going to call it our annual Mother's Day show, I guess. It's interesting, Dorothy. We don't do Father's Day. We just do Mother's Day shows.
I noticed that.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Maybe because you like being surrounded by all these pretty
are you
moms.
asking-
Well, that might be true. But we've always done Mother's Day shows, and I guess because the kids, and when I say kids, I mean anywhere up to 21 and below, so I'm not
Okay.
diminishing who you guys are. Max and Nick, what is it, and you both take your turn, what is it that you most admire about your mom?
Okay.
Nick, why don't you just take the mic?
I admire the fact that she's very strong-willed and isn't, once she has her mindset on something, isn't going to give up halfway through. She's a very determined person. I definitely admire that. Another thing I admire about my mom is the fact that wow, I'm losing my thought. I just admire her for herself. She doesn't let anyone change who she is. And
So she's very
yeah.
principled?
Definitely. And she stands up for what she believes in. If she hears someone saying something that she won't go up and scream in their face.
Usually.
Fair point.
Okay.
She likes to discuss things and be very practical, and that's another thing
You admire that?
yeah, I definitely admire her.
How do you think you're most like her?
I'd probably say determination.
Yeah.
Being strong-willed and not giving up for what you believe in. Because I've been raised by my mother, I believe, equally. I don't know. To believe in equal rights for
good answer.
all people
Yeah.
and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so yeah.
Max?
Well, I
Everything your brother said times two?
I hope. I recently read this study that said that parents who talked to their kids when they were developing, like as an infant, the kids tended to be more well-spoken and they're successful, actually. And that just made me think, my mom talked to me a lot when I was an infant. I wonder what I'm doing wrong. But actually, what I admire and love about my mom so much is that she cares so much. Like, she cared enough to take time out of her day and talk to me as an infant. She still cares to deal with me day to day when I'm waking up and I don't want to.
Right.
And so just how much she cares about things, like all of the like nonprofit work that she does that takes up a lot of her time, that she does not for money because it's nonprofit work, but because she believes in it and she cares so much about it. So like as Nick was saying, the determination, but the just like the amount of caring that my mom puts into everything that she does, really, I really admire that.
Jules, you said something at the break. I'd love you to repeat. It was about keeping receiving the kids the way they are and keeping them on the road that they're already on?
Yeah, my husband and I will both talk about with, raising the kids, that our boys appear superficially to be very similar to one another because they both dance, they both like to do theater. So people assume they're a lot alike. They are not a lot alike at all. And the realization that you come into as a parent, particularly I think when you have multiple children, but it can happen with just one, I'm sure, that they come to us who they are.
Right.
And our job as parents is to, instill values and to guide, but really we're just kind of tapping along the way and keeping them safe, keeping them as much as possible good, kind, caring people, and then letting them be who they are. Yeah. So, when they do great, we say, well, we can't take too much credit. And when they get into trouble, we say, well, we can't take too much blame because
that's right.
They're their own people.
Yeah.
And we're just guides.
Noelle, is that true with Calli? She started at such a young age in the arts, and you encouraged her. Her spirit was there, and all you could do is mold it and work with it?
That's right. We like to say she came out singing and dancing.
Right.
It was very evident as a small child that she loved the arts, and we just continued it from there. I mean, she was always the one asking us, could she do this? Could she do this play? Could she audition for this? You hear about stage parents and stage moms, and I've never had to be that. I mean, even with her pageant days, she decided on her own she was going to compete in pageants because she saw my mother's crown. And, that was just something that we've never really had to guide her on. She's pretty much told us what she was going to do. I'll never forget going down the road. She must have been around 10 years old. And she said, Mom, it would be a dream if I could go to school where all I did was sing, dance, and act. And I said, that is a thing. And her face just lit up, and she was like, that's what I want to do with my life. And from 10 years old to today, about to turn 18, she's not looked back. I mean, laser-like focus.
Had she on her own picked up a tennis ball and was always with a racket dragging it around, you would have encouraged her to go that route instead.
I did play tennis, actually.
She did.
Did
we have tried some other things along the way.
My longest running sport was golf.
That was
actually did do that for a little bit.
You did?
Yeah. She's just, and there was a time around middle school where she said, I think I'm burned out on dance, and I'm just going to quit. And I said, no. So I think
I was
it's
so mad at her
parents.
I want to talk about that.
That you have to know when to say, no, you're not going to quit that.
Yeah.
And today, I mean, she's accepted into a really top school that's very dance focused, and had she stopped, and now she's very thankful that she didn't, but it was Miss Rita of Taylor Dance, the brilliant woman that she is. Right before that conversation happened with Calli, and Calli didn't know anything about that time period, but Rita said that, there's going to come a time, and it's roughly around middle school, where we see kids that want to stop, and you have to be there to guide them and say, or to know what to say. And with her, it was a no-brainer. We know this is what your passion is. You're just a little burned out. You're going to stick with it. This is what you're going to do.
It's interesting you say that, because Calli, one of the questions I was going to ask you was, what was one of the best or most memorable tough love lessons you learned from your mom, where maybe at the time you were so angry and you wanted to fight back, but you look back now and see it in a different way?
It was around 10 years old, so around Nick's age. I was doing a lot of dance. And looking back on it, I mean, Gary Taylor dance is no joke. You are constantly in classes, you're constantly in rehearsals, and I didn't, a 10-year-old should be with her friends and, hanging out, and all the popular girls were going to the malls on the weekends and doing stuff, and I was stuck in rehearsal, and I didn't understand why I had to be stuck in a studio all day. And, of course, I loved doing it, but I didn't want it to be my whole life in that moment, and I didn't really understand that it was that I needed to continue dancing to go to college. I was like, well, I know the fundamentals now. I'll be fine. Even at 10, I was like, I'm good. And I remember my mom.
12.
Yeah, it was middle school. My mom was like, you have to go to dance tonight. I remember one specific day, I was like, I will not put these tights on. Tights just annoy me. Even now, I'm like that one dancer that shows up and gets in trouble every day because I don't like putting my hair up and I don't like putting on tights. And I was like, I will not be constricted by these tights anymore. I'm so done. And she's like, nope, get your butt in the car. We're going to dance. And I was like crying on the way there. It's like, this is terrible. And I didn't want to go to dance because we just started really getting into point shoes. And I was a great little dancer when I was little. And that was like my prime, I think.
Your prime.
And I was getting Claire in the Nutcracker.
I can assure you it wasn't.
I felt like that was like my ballet prime. I was Claire in the Nutcracker 3 times, and I was Love and Life. And then the point shoes were brought out, and I was slowly dropping from here to here in my class. All the other girls were excelling way faster, way easier, and I was in the back because I wasn't born with the right feet. My feet are as flat as can be. They're great tapping feet. I'm like a little penguin, but I just cannot point my feet like a lot of the other girls in my class did, and still now. I mean, I bought $200 worth of foot stretchers, and it just did not work. So I think that a lot of my frustration was coming from I couldn't do point. Therefore, I didn't want to go to class and try. So I remember getting into class, and Gary was like, put on your point shoes. And I was like, I can't do it. He was like, I don't care. Get on your toes. And I'd literally sit there and cry at the bar because it was so hard. Looking back on it now, I wouldn't trade it for the world because all those college auditions, people would get cut after the first round if they couldn't dance.
Yeah. Jules, to your point, the conviction in her voice when she speaks, that wasn't manufactured. That's just part of who she is, right? And her mom knows that, and just you allow her to go with the flow because that's how she gets from here to there. It's just so evident.
Yeah, it's the tenacity.
Right, right. And you're born with it. I don't know. But you have an unusual tenacity. You do. I've seen it. I admire it. I especially admire it in that fact that you're not afraid to fail and that you have the courage to step out. Sometimes the results are not always what you want, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And that's where grace comes in, by the way. Okay. Right?
I've lost a lot. I mean, in pageants and auditions, people just don't see that part. People see, oh, well, Calli's the lead in this, and I mean, it's all local, and not a lot of people are into this locally. There's a little bunch of us that are into this musical theater thing, but people don't see all the auditions I lose.
Okay. I'm going to tell you a story. I have a lot of young brokers in my office, and this is a true story. 2 weeks ago, we lost a $1 million sale. And I walked in and I said to everybody, we have good news today. What happened? Well, we lost this $1 million sale. It fell apart. And they looked at me like, huh, what do you mean? I said, are you kidding? I said, do you know how privileged we are to be able to do that every year? If we can say that, that just means we're completely enrolled. And that's how you look at a setback or a failure. You're engaged. You're fully enrolled. And you are. Time is short. We're going to come back in the third set. Jules Latham, Noelle McIntyre. We're going to come back and talk about Mother's Day. Guys, we're going to get you back. Okay? This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to our final set, our Mother's Day show. Jules Latham is with us. Noelle McIntyre is with us. Listening to the Max and Nick. Calli, you have a story about your mom you want to share?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So this is a really, really funny story. I didn't let her know what I was going to say in the break.
Okay, good.
So when I was younger, I was just starting out in pageants, and I had this losing streak. And my first pageant I ever did got first runner-up. Second one, I think it was first runner-up. And then it was second runner-up. And I just wasn't winning. I remember at this one pageant, I had tried so hard. I think I sang LOVE by Nat King Cole in this really cute white fluffy outfit. And I tapped. I went the extra mile for this pageant. And I was like, I just really want it so bad. And I remember this girl beat me again. I was very upset about it. And I cried my heart out. and like you could see me crying on the stage. It was traumatic. So my mom, I was in this big red ball gown. Like when I say big, like it was out to here, like swallowed me whole. And we went out to like greet family and friends and everything, and I'm just like mascara's running, like little baby Callie, like I'm just so upset. My mom picks me up, throws me over her shoulder, and she walks out of the building. She's like, you will not cry in front of any of these people. She was like, save it for the pillow. You're stronger than this. You're not gonna let anybody here know that you're upset. And like something clicked, and I was like, yeah, you're right. Like I need to pull it together. I need to accept the failure, keep moving forward, and try to win next time. And she was like, well, we'll go to Walmart and we'll get you a little stuffed animal, and then we'll move on with our lives. So that's exactly what we did. And that just sticks into my head because it was so cold that night. And she was in a dress and heels about this big. And the door was locked on us after we walked outside.
I know.
So she walked all around Aberdeen Elementary, through the little farm chicken area, back to the front in like 20-degree weather with me in that ball gown, her in her high heels. So that's just a cute little story about how much she's done.
What do you most admire about your mom?
I think that she's always let me express my creativity. Growing up, I was always the kid that had the blue hair or the red hair or whatever hair, and parents would always like ask her. They'd be like, "Why does Callie have rainbow hair right now?" And she'd be like, "You know, that's Callie. She's expressing herself, and I would rather her have it this phase now than like when she's 40 years old and having a midlife crisis." So I'm really thankful for that, and I think that that's something that also Jules embodies too, because and this is unintentional, but Max, show your streak. We both have white streaks in our hair right now.
Which side is it?
On the right side, on the exact same side, and that was unintentional. And it's just little things like that that we know we can express, and having them accept us. My mom's always accepted me for my weirdness, and I've always been a weird kid, and
I know how that feels.
yeah, my mom likes to say that she was a snail and she made me herself, because growing up, when I was 1 and my biological father left, it was just me and her.
Right.
It's still just me and her. I mean, like, I have my stepdad, but my mom has always been, you know, my rock and everything, and she says that she birthed me herself. So
I'm
just
around. I'm around enough moms during the day at work to know that moms are so hard on themselves. And they always feel like they're not doing enough, and they're always so guilty, and they can't fulfill their job obligations, and they're not being good moms to their kids. Men aren't so hard on themselves as I see women. Noelle, Callie's leaving for school next year, this fall. Look, already, but what you have, where she is, you have to be so proud. But it's got to be part bittersweet, but it's also part of growing up. But you have to look back and say, good job.
I'm very proud. It's, you know, this is why we have kids, to watch them take that next step and flourish. But I'm probably going to have to seek out the counseling of a therapist this fall.
Right.
or accumulate a lot of airline points.
Right.
It's going to be a big adjustment. I do have, Callie has 2 little brothers, and they're 12 and 11, and we're entering a Boy Scout phase with them. So they'll keep me busy, but it's, you know, I'm kind of losing my girl, so it's like losing my arm.
My guess is there are going to be a lot of long phone conversations.
there are those now, like
from upstairs
when I
to downstairs?
Yeah, like when I see her. Like I can show you my phone call log, and there's like 20 missed calls from my mom. Like, call me back. She'll call me literally calls me every single morning when I wake up.
Do you text with your mom?
No, because she's calling me constantly.
Yeah.
There's no point in texting.
Yeah. Right.
None.
Yeah. The support system that you've had, right? You're sitting right there to your left, right?
You're my partner in crime, for sure.
You're going to be in Pittsburgh. When do you start? When do you go away to school?
August 20-something.
Okay.
August 24th.
Okay. It's going to be an adjustment.
Oh, for sure.
Right? But I have a feeling that you're just going to appreciate each other so much more when you are together. But I think there won't be a day that goes by or you don't speak. God forbid a weekend goes by. What's going to happen?
That's not going to happen.
Look at your mom.
I know it's not going to happen.
Right?
Yeah. We'll speak every day, and I mean, I'm upset about it. Like, our movie is Dumbo, and it's always been Dumbo. And the song Baby Mine, like, she's crying right now. The song Baby Mine is the song that she always used to sing to me when I was little. And we went to go watch the live-action Dumbo movie recently, and we just cried our hearts out when
standing outside of that theater, like, people walking by us, like,
we were hysterically crying. Like, it was
idiots,
so bad.
like, just standing
It's when,
there.
like, Mama Jumbo, like, gets ripped away from Baby Dumbo, and it was, like, way too symbolic of our lives right now. And so it was like I was getting ripped away from her, like, I should just stop explaining this, but you get what I mean. And it was bad.
What have you learned from your mom about the day that you are going to become a mom?
Okay, I'm gonna be real. She's very protective. I've never been to a party in my life. That is something I'm very proud of looking back on. She's very adamant about me staying safe. She never has let a boy go in my room. Looking back on that now, I'm thankful because I have some friends who weren't as fortunate in the mother department and weren't as morally sound, and so they made bad choices because their parents let them make bad choices. And at times I would get frustrated with her because she wasn't as lenient as some of the other parents I'd seen. But it's all just because she wanted me to stay on this path and stay safe and stay morally in check while the rest of my friends were giving up on their dreams. I was just excelling. I didn't see it at the time, but everything that she did that I thought was overbearing or overprotective was just to keep me safe and keep me towards my goals.
My guess is the day you have a boy or a girl and you're a mom, you're going to be a tough mom. You're going to be a disciplined mom. You're going to be a focused mom. And you're probably not going to put up with a lot of stuff because you're going to keep your kids on the straight and narrow. Just a guess. Wild guess.
But she keeps me on the straight and narrow, but she's also, I mean, my best friend says that we're like sisters. We argue like sisters. We argue like friends. And I know that that's sometimes looked down upon with parents acting like friends to their daughters or sons, but our situation is just kind of different with us always being like, I mean, I've known this woman for a little around 18 years. Like, I mean, I think I've known her for a while now, and I can say that, I mean, our fights don't last longer than like 2 minutes. My friends think it's so funny because we're bipolar. Like, we're yelling at each other 1 second, and then I call her back, and I'm like, hey, you want to go to dinner tonight? Like, we're literally friends, and it's funny. And I love having that relationship with her because nothing is ever too serious. She's never really grounded me and held me back, and I've never felt that overpowering that she was scary, you know? Like, it was like, yes, I respected her and she was my mom, or she is my mom, but it wasn't like I'm scared of her. I'm scared to make a bad decision.
Right. You guys are a great team.
Thank you.
Honestly, you are a great team. 10 years of doing this show, I can look back and I can think of some of the memorable shows that we've had, and this young lady has been involved in 2 of them, just right off the bat. I mean, so that's kudos to you guys. We could have a whole show, Jules, about the difference between the relationship between a mother and a daughter and a mom and boys. It could be a whole show. And you don't have a daughter, but it's different with boys. Is it?
Well, my husband and I talk about this because he has 4 sisters, and I have a brother.
Okay.
So neither of us grew up in a brother family. You know, we just don't have that experience to think about.
Right.
And when the guys were little, they were constantly touching each other. And they were like puppies, where if they were happy with each other, they were wrestling and making happy noises. And when they were mad at each other, they were wrestling and making mad noises, but it almost always looked the same. It just sounded different.
Right.
And Mark and I would look at them and be like, can you please stop touching each other? And the answer is no, they cannot.
They can't.
They cannot stop touching each other. And I don't know if girls do that, but it is my husband and I were both perplexed by
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I can actually speak to that because having both,
Yeah, you do.
it's
That's right.
exactly how Jules describes it. It's rough and tumble, and what
Right.
starts off as the nice puppy turns out to be
Uh-huh.
the mean sounds, but always touching. But now with Callie, when she was little, I could give her a coloring book or dolls, and she would just sit there so calmly and play with that. And
But then it shifted when she had Corey and Conley, and and this is actually very funny because it's a Mother's Day special, but seeing her mother me when Corey and Conley came into the world, it was like I became little mama to them.
Right.
And I
Right.
would try to boss them around, and they hated that. And I remember
Sure.
getting in trouble so many times because my mom was like, you gotta stop being little mama. She would always say, little mama, you're being that. You need to quit it. And I just feel so overprotective over them because she was that way with me. So I guess I already show signs of being an overprotective mom, but it annoys them to this day.
The die is cast, young lady.
Yeah, and my grandma,
The same.
the same. It's generational.
It's okay. Guys, didn't want to forget you. We've got 2 minutes to go, 3 minutes to go. What do you think about all this conversation we're having? Nick?
I don't necessarily remember what
Most-
my mom was talking about.
Conversation.
No, I don't
were you
necessarily.
I don't remember.
That's not what I was talking about. I don't necessarily remember myself as younger, 3, 2, obviously, with my brother. But now it's the kind of thing where we'll get in fights over the stupidest things, and
We will.
yeah, and we'll start roughhousing, and then my mom will come up and scream at us, and then we'll go to our rooms, and 10 minutes later, I'll poke my head in my brother's room and he's like, hey, want to play video games? And he's like, sure. And so, it's, kind of what Callie was talking about with her mom. 1 minute we're mad at each other, and the next minute we're playing video games upstairs, and,
Until 2 minutes later when he does something annoying.
exactly. And so it's a love-hate relationship. So my mother knows this very well. So yeah, I feel like that's definitely true. We're always whacking each other, whether we're happy at each other.
In
or mad at
rehearsals
each
too, Mr. Gary will be like,
Oh.
boys, stop touching each other.
Oh,
That's
Jesus.
exactly what they say.
Yeah.
Max,
and-
is your brother spot on?
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of?
Pretty much.
Yeah? You're in agreement with him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Mom is always good about saying, Max, Nick, stop. And then when she turns around, we do it again. But she's
Yeah,
good at telling us to
she's
stop.
good at telling us to stop. We're not very good at listening.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
You two guys are very impressive. You're very confident.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed having you on the show. I think you spoke very well of your mom.
Well,
And the evidence is right there in the two of you guys. What a good job she's done, huh?
yeah. She has.
you.
Yeah,
she
Jules,
has.
it was a pleasure. Thank you for coming in and doing this. Maybe 10 or 15 years from now, your boys will watch this and go, oh my gosh. And we'll get you a copy.
When they're like at Harvard and Yale and
Yeah.
studying rocket science,
And
It's hard being Nick's teacher. It's really hard.
is he so much like you? No.
No, because I feel like he's smarter than me.
I
Callie.
remember sometime recently when Callie was teaching us.
Yeah.
I spelled 8th wrong.
Yeah, you spelled 8th wrong, and he said, don't worry, Callie, I had trouble with that too when I was in kindergarten.
Oh, yeah. I spelled 8th
Yeah.
E-I-T-H. It'd have been a long day. Forgot the G. Sue me, Nick.
Callie, thank you
Gladly.
for putting this together today.
Of course.
And coming in. I think you've set a record for most appearances, which is great. And Noelle, even though you've been here all the time, I think the world of you. I'm so glad you came and joined
Thank
us.
you. Thank you for having me.
And we wish this young lady a lot of good luck and fortune, right?
You have to visit her in Pittsburgh.
And heart. Yeah, and, I lived in Pittsburgh. I lived in Philadelphia for 11 years after college. I know Western Pennsylvania pretty well.
Yep.
Long winters.
We have Amish people and chocolate
Yes, you do.
in Pennsylvania.
Everybody, we'll wish your moms a happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Right.
Happy
Yes.
Mother's Day, Mom.
And all moms.
I guess.
And
On Monday.
thank you all. This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week.